A man signing a marriage license has nothing to do with love or biblical marriage, but has everything to do with the man financially getting taken advantage of and losing a lot of his assets. When a man and a woman get divorced via the court, all trust and love has went out the window, and men need to expect the gloves to come off legally. The reason women get upset when men bring up a prenup is because women know that a marriage license gives them access to a man's assets. What I'm telling you is this: no man should ever get married with a marriage license after watching this video. Roll that footage.
Matrix is everywhere. It is all around us. Even now, in this very room. You can see it when you look out your window or when you turn on your television. You can feel it when you go to work, when you go to church, when you pay your taxes. It is the world that has been pulled over your eyes to blind you from the truth. What truth? That you are a slave. Like everyone else, you were born into bondage. Unfortunately, no one can be told what the Matrix is. You have to see it for yourself. This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
All praise to the Most High Yah Shalom. Thank you for tuning in to another Righteous Ruach Spirit-filled episode. Today I'm back at it in them trenches, handling that kingdom business. You know, man, this is a topic that men are very ignorant to, especially in Western culture. And for this reason, you know, men think that marriage, biblical marriage, you know, has something to do with the marriage license. And it absolutely does not. And men need to realize when you're signing ignorantly a contract which you don't understand the terms of, that's a recipe for disaster. And a lot of women know this, know the benefits of a marriage license for them, but can't outline the benefits for it for a man. And for that reason, if the Most High Yah has already given guidance pertaining to how marriage is supposed to be, and it's supposed to be a covenant under the Most High Yah, why would you go get married under the state? Only ignorance would allow a man to fall into that type of trap. But before I dive any deeper, man, I need every brother out there to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment down below letting me know why you think men should not sign a marriage license even if they desire to get married. Drop your answer down below. Let's start the dialogue. Iron sharpens iron. You know, first and foremost, man, I want to bring forth the truth that people have been getting married under the Most High Yah for thousands of years while never taking a marriage license. Okay? You know, man, a marriage license was brought about in the United States due to miscegenation laws trying to prohibit interracial marriage. And I'm here today to tell you that the Most High Yah, you won't read nowhere in the whole of the Bible that the Most High Yah tells you that you need to get permission from the state, which is, when you think about what a license is, permission, you need to get permission to take a wife. You don't find that. You know, any pastor that calls himself a man of God, a man of the Most High, a man of the cloth, and is using this to marry people, this is the reason why when you're having marital issues and you want that union to be dissolved, man, your doggone pastor can't give you anything but counsel, and he can't give you legal counsel. Why? Because the authority that your marriage is under has nothing to do with the ecclesia. The biblical church, the called out assembly, has nothing to do with that, but it has everything to do with the state. You know, a lot of men don't know that when you look at legal statutes pertaining to the marriage license, a man is financially responsible for his wife post-divorce legally. And men, if you don't meet those terms, man, they can lock you up according to that law. So think about this. Let me give you the breakdown. A husband can be held financially responsible for his wife after divorce if they have a valid marriage license. So men, oftentimes what you're dealing with, when you look at statistically, 70% of divorces are filed by women, 90% if they're educated. Your wife goes down there and files a marriage license. She don't want to be with you no more, okay? Tia Mori, marriage no longer serves me. I'm unhappy in my marriage. You know, I'm this, I'm that. But what you need to understand is, men, you being a good provider for her in the marriage, her entitlement mindset is going to cause her to want to continue to live the lifestyle that you have been providing. What do you think alimony and spousal support is for? But here's the reality. You know, when a woman divorces a man no longer gets a wife, but a woman still gets the lifestyle. And she can fight for that lifestyle via the state-issued marriage license. Okay, this is done primarily through spousal support, alimony, division of marital debt, and potential property division. Courts determine responsibility based on income, disparity, marriage duration, and debt acquired during the marriage rather than solely on whose name is on an account. So men, the minute you get a state-issued marriage license, they're not looking at, man, I'm the provider, I'm making the money, I'm taking care of my wife, her name ain't on nothing. No, you allowed the state to get into your business, and now how much ever money you've got in on accounts, investments, and things like that, she now has access to. You know, secondly, most men don't realize when they sign a marriage license that you can be held responsible for your wife's debt in a divorce and post-divorce. A man can be held responsible for his wife's debt in a divorce, especially, okay, if the debt is joint co-signed or incurred during the marriage or in a community property state. So let me break this down. Say, for instance, you've got a credit card, you and your wife are joint owners on that card, you've put her on as an authorized user, she runs up the bill, she wants to divorce you, y'all get a divorce, you're on the hook for that, okay? Here's another one. Your wife has a credit card, your name ain't on it, but yet you're in a communal state, that credit card debt, she can fight for that to be yours. Listen to this. While separate debts usually remain with the original borrower, courts may divide marital debt, making you responsible for liabilities you did not personally sign for. Okay, here's another one. How many times have we seen that a wife be awarded the house that the man is paying for and is paying the mortgage on? Man, I'm telling you, this marriage license is a wicked thing. Once you have knowledge of what it entails, man, there's no logical reason why you should be trusting the state to adjudicate matters in your marriage and to rule over your marriage more than you trust the Most High Yah. Man, I want men to understand that the state is going to have rule over your house and have rule over your wife and you. When you read Genesis chapter 3, verse 16, it says, and your desires shall be to your husband, and he shall rule over you. In other places in the Bible, it says, obey them that have rule over you. When you get a state-issued marriage license, that goes out of the window. And this is the reason why a lot of modern women are screaming to the rooftop, single women, well, we don't want a traditional marriage. We want partnership, because partnership equals equality. And the reason they use those terms is because of the legal benefits that they can take part of. In the United States, a state-issued marriage license creates a legal partnership based on equal rights and responsibilities between spouses. So when you're reading about state law, man, even though the court says raise your right hand, place your hand on the Bible, they ain't using nothing in that Bible. This same license that they want you to apply for, if you are a believing man, they will give to two men. But the Bible says that's an abomination. They'll give to two women who are carpet munchers. Abomination. Why would I apply for the same license that two gay men or two lesbians would go get? That should let you know it's wicked right then and there. The concept of the husband having rule or legal authority over a wife historically is known as coverture. It is not recognized under modern American law. Men, okay, if the Bible, the Most High Yah created marriage where the man is the head of the woman and has rule over the woman and her desire is supposed to be to you, why would you go give away your authority to the state, and let alone allow them to rule over you. Men, I want to drive home the point. A state-issued marriage license has nothing to do with biblical marriage. A state-issued marriage license generally has no direct connection to the biblical definition of marriage. The Bible treats marriage as a covenant between man, woman, and Yahweh, not a contract requiring government permission. However, the state license is a modern legal document ensuring legal recognition and protections. Protections from who? Protections for who? The woman. Okay, society does not like to push the fact that a man and a woman can make their own marriage contract. You can create your own marriage document, your own marriage contract via a Word document. And in there, men, you need to put in matters of this contract, the state will have no jurisdiction. You need to cut the state out of her ever being able to take that piece of paper and saying, here, judge, here's the contract we made. You need to be able to, you need to cut all of that out and make sure that is front line, first and center, if you make your own marriage contract. See, they don't like to promote this because lawyers make a lot of money off, the state makes a lot of money off, and they get, you think about court filing fees. Oh man, every time y'all have a dispute because you got a state-issued marriage license, you've got a woman that don't want to do right, she's trying to gouge you for them children, trying to take your children, she's trying to take your assets. Man, those are court filing fees. Every document you got to do that's not the original doc, you got to pay a filing fee. Every time you appear to court, these charges, when you think about it, you're in that family court system. We know that women can use this legal system to get men to pay for their wicked ass attorney fees. Man, there's no logical reason, unless you're brain dead, unless you're spiritually retarded, that you should get a marriage license. Signing a marriage license is primarily a legal and administrative act that creates a legally binding contract. And here's the reality. It's a legally binding contract between two business entities. When they're talking about this, when you're in court and you have the plaintiff and the defendant and your name is in all caps, no, that is the business entity, all caps you, not the living person you. This is the reason why you will go in there and try to defend your case and they don't care nothing about it because, man, the law is written according to legalese. Administrative act that creates a legally binding contract rather than a direct, required, or emotional expression of love. There ain't not one time that the judge is going to use love, trust in one another. Could care less. Man, let me give you some additional reasons. Black's Law Dictionary, and I recommend all men watching this get a copy of Black's Law Dictionary. Man, it will run you, I think you can get it on Amazon for $89. Get you a copy of Black's Law Dictionary. I'm going to do some other videos on why most people will never own anything in the United States due to some of the terminology and definition it gives in there. Black's Law Dictionary defines license as the permission by competent authority to do an act without such permission would be illegal. Okay, you should ask yourselves, why should it be illegal to marry without the state's permission? More importantly, why should we need the state's permission to participate in something which Yahweh instituted in Genesis chapter 2, verse 18 through 24? We should not need the state's permission to marry, nor should we grovel before state officials to seek it. Men need to consider, when you marry with a marriage license, you grant the state jurisdiction over your marriage. When you marry with a marriage license, your marriage is a creature of the state. It is a corporation of the state. Therefore, they have jurisdiction over your marriage, including the fruit of your marriage, okay, your children. What is the fruit of your marriage? Your children. Your children and every piece of property you own. There is plenty of case law in American jurisprudence which declares this to be true. Men also need to take into account, when you marry with a marriage license, you place yourself under a body of law which is immoral. By obtaining a marriage license, you place yourself under the jurisdiction of family court, which is governed by unbiblical and immoral laws. Under these laws, you can divorce for any reason. Often, the courts side with the spouse who is in rebellion to the Most High Yah, and incapacitates the spouse who remains faithful by ordering him or her not to speak about the Bible or other matters of faith when present with children. The marriage license invades and removes God-given parental authority. When you read the Bible, you see that Yahweh intended for children to have their father's blessing regarding whom they married. Daughters were to be given in marriage by their fathers. We have a vestige of this in our culture today, in that fathers takes his daughter to the front of the altar and the minister asks, who gives this woman to be married to this man? When you read the laws of colonies and then states, you only see two requirements for marriage. First, you had to obtain your parents' permission to marry, and second, you had to post public notice of marriage 5 to 15 days before the ceremony. Notice you had to obtain your parents' permission. Notice it doesn't say you had to obtain your father's permission. So you have women giving away their daughters in marriage. And in modern day, by issuing marriage license, the state is saying you don't need your parents' permission. You need our permission. If parents are opposed to their children marrying a certain person and refuse to give their permission, the child can do an end run around the parents' authority by obtaining the state's permission and marry anyway. This is an invasion and removal of God-given parental authority by the state. You know, man, like I said, man, you have so many pastors, pulpit pimps, hustlers, you know, telling men and women that they need to go down there and file that paperwork with the state in order for the pastor or that church to marry them. Why is that? Well, the pastors themselves get certain tax benefits. Their churches get certain tax benefits by being 501c3s and being in bed with the state. So they themselves are in bed with the state. So when you think about it, when a pastor is mixing the Bible but telling you to go get married under the state, you need to throw a flag on the play. Because any man of understanding would understand that the way that the Bible outlined marriage and the structure of marriage, you wouldn't give away your authority or headship to the state. But pastors are out there telling folks to do this every day, all day. And you wonder why Western civilization has one of the highest divorce rates. You wonder why we have some of the most rebellious women out here taking advantage of men financially by way of a state-issued marriage license. You saw that clip in the beginning. Men, you don't need a prenup. The reason she's crying and all of this, she's going to say, well, you don't trust me and I don't think you really believe in our love. That license you signing, it ain't got shit to do with love. It ain't got a damn thing to do with love. It ain't got nothing to do with trust. It's got everything to do with your business partner pulling the wool over your eyes, because when you sign that contract, you two are entering into a legally binding contract, a legal partnership. All of this feminism, equality, yeah, that's what they want. They want that marriage license. You have to think, man, you have a lot of women out here that the only reason they have success is because they've been married multiple times and they take the man to the cleaner every time. Man, we don't have a whole bunch of women who are divorced that got it out the muscle on their own and then didn't try to take a man's stuff. You've got women that are successful in their own endeavors and then still try to take a man to the bank, still try to take a man to the cleaners. Men, see, you can avoid all of these headlines. You know, you think about athletes, basketball players, football players, baseball players, celebrities. The reason they make headlines, the reason these headlines, are so overwhelming and astonishing, because the one thing they don't address is these men all had marriage licenses. They all had marriage license. And the only way you can get yourself out of a legally binding contract with the state is to go before a judge, and the judge is going to exercise the fullness of marital law on your behalf to take full advantage of you financially. Once again, this is the Set Apart Man, kicking that thing gun barrel straight. Until next time, stay set apart, stay disciplined, stay in the word of the Most High Yahweh.